And sir, first of all, let me tell you that your optimistic speech gave me a bit of hope of India, and it's very nice to see you here speaking about it. Sir, as you said that excellence, the excellence cannot be achieved for whole of India through just some points of excellence. Sir, I can see that in India there is a huge disparity between the urban and the rural population. The urban centers are growing very fast, but the rural areas are not growing at par. And that, I think, is causing a lot of social economic tensions, and I think a lot of the Maoism, Naxalism that you're talking about, you mentioned, is also coming because of that. Not only that, there is also a lot of difference in states. Among states, the growth rate for the southern states is very high compared to the northern states or the eastern states. Sir, as a member of the union government, sir, what would your comment be on trying to address this problem, because I think this will ultimately lead to a social and economic problem for India in the future. Thank you.
I do appreciate your concern. I share your concern. That's why we address number of problems. How to resolve these kind of what you call two civilizations, one rural civilization in India and urban civilization, two India also. We'd like to bridge it. It is a must, mandatory if you want the democracy, to move on. That's why we introduced number of programs, particularly in the UP 1 and 2, starting with the National Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme, which provides 100 days guaranteed work for all the rural folks, whether he's a farmer or a non-farmer. So this is going on very well. We are pumping in a lot of money on that. Then we have also introduced a bill because particularly the Naxalism has emerged particularly from the conflicts of the tribal areas. So that's why we have introduced we have already Act is in force where the problems of those tribals who are living in those tribal areas, forest area, they should be either rehabilitated in their own plot or provide the rehabilitation. This is a the program which is already in place. There are also many other Bharat Nirman program, the rural infrastructure program, the roads program, the infrastructure for the basic amenities, and we have also introduced a bill called the Act called Right to Education, where we have a right to get into the school of the neighborhood or whatever it may be, and we are spending a lot of money on that, right to education. So with all that, we have to empower the citizen. We have also, the Act is also in force, Right to Information Act. I think all this galata is only because of the right of information. Whether any litigations increasing in the judicial court and many things, I think we have to live up to that, because the government will have to be government of the day, belong to the people, and it should be transparent. I don't think we need to be afraid, live in the regime of colonialism, like the right to, earlier there was a Privacy Act. Privacy Act practically it has become redundant, and now the Right to Information Act will provide or empower the citizen to know what government is doing it, how they can actively participate in that. I know there are a number of programs which are going. I think 80% of the expenditure now incurred by the UP 1 and 2 government, will go to the rural area. This is the change which is taking place. We have already introduced Land Reforms Act. It is in place. We are giving the land to the tiller. Then we had introduced the Sealing Act. We have also given lands to the housing program. It's very massive in nature. Crores and crores of rupees are given. That's why now we are empowering the villages. We are also aware that at the same time we should not neglect the urban areas, because another 15 to 20 years, our urban 28% of the urban area will become 40, and another 25 to 30 years it is going to become 60%. This is the emerging middle class which is going up, and we have also introduced number of programs for the infrastructure or the or the slum development program, and these are all big, multi-pronged programs and packages are being introduced to ensure that no one field that is alienated from the basic amenities.
So what about the disparity among the states, the southern states and the heartland, for example? So there is a lot of disparity in the human development index, in the money that they have, and how they have their.
This is what I am telling you, the Right to Education Act, and particularly from the last 7-8 years, our higher education is getting big field. You must have seen number of innovative universities have started, number of IITs have started, number of IMFs have started, and almost all these first year colleges, all those colleges have also been given a lot of money from the UGC. And apart from that, you also know that national skill development programs have taken off, because in the introduction you said, the 25%, only 25% of the engineers or whatever, they are employed, rest are not employed. Only to directly address those problems, we have introduced this national skill development, which is taking place in a massive form, and ultimately the skill which is there only with the 5% of the population will increase in a manifold way, maybe it may even become the 40%, 45% within 10-15 years. So this is we have directly addressed these problems.
Actually, you've been responsible for many of those.
Oversight committee. That's because of my recommendation in the oversight committee, higher education got a big moment.
Thank you very much for coming to Rochester. We don't see people like you here in Rochester very often. So I'm Bob Dixit. I'm also on the advisory board, the advisory council, the president of the R.I.T, and also on Dean Rao's advisory council and R.I.T board of trustees. I've prepared a lot of questions on the pros and cons of starting business in India. But I want to go to a broader question, and that is, government has a very poor track record in this country of running private industry, or being involved in the private industry. Why is government of India still hanging on, or the governments, the state governments, hanging on to the public sector industry instead of privatizing them? It's shocking to me that after 64 years, we still have blackouts and power outages. And the infrastructure, we need to work on these things, and this should become priority. It will not only create jobs, it will help the industry and make it easier for them. So I talked to a member of the Planning Commission at one time, and I asked him as to why the public sector companies are not being privatized. And his answer was that the industrialists were opposed to it, because they said when you go to the public market, it's going to drive the funds that they are accessing. And so it will supply the money supply or funds for the private industry to grow. So I don't know what you're thinking on this, and I don't know if there is anything in the process to privatize all these state-owned industries, which I'm sure will become far more efficient and productive.
Yeah, question is quite crucial, but not as on today. But this question could have been held valid, about 7-8 years back. I'm just telling you that, coming back to the world economic recession, there were days and days when I was CM and also holding some positions. Many of the economists used to come from abroad and say, what is this? Why do you nationalize the banks? What happened? Why you are just thinking the economy? Don't do that. They used to come and give us an advice. Very same economists today, world over, say, decision to nationalize those banks have sustained the economy of the country. I'm just telling you this. Even with regard to the public sector companies, there are companies doing extremely well, better than, for example, BEL. BEL, extremely doing well. BEML, they manufacture, railway coaches today. And another day, even the metro rail in Bangalore. It is from the BEML that we got the coaches, the tracks. So they are coming of age, they have no place unless they live along with the private sectors. This is we have not compromised on quality with regard to the public sector. Public sector, many of the public sectors have been rounded up, and we have also divested the shares of the public sector to the private sector. All these things have happened. I think there is a lot of flexibility now introduced. Maybe that this question, that's why I said, would have been relevant about 7 years back, but as on today, I think many of these apprehensions and concerns, they do not survive any longer. The suggestion is good, yes. Questions are generally raised, but if you get into the real working of the situation or the economy of the country, things have changed.
Yeah, but government is wasting energy running these companies. Instead of that, what the government should be concerned about is defense, education, infrastructure, building roads, bridges, railways, and working on those areas. Why put our energy?
No, the government works like a private sector. You must come and see, make a study of the present companies, whether BEL. After you make a study of BEL, BEML, and some of these companies, you will definitely come to a conclusion what they are doing is right. What I don't say that the earlier thinking, yes, it was necessary at that time that public sector, acted as the commanding heights of the economy of the country. No more. Private sector is now allowed in many sectors. A lot of liberalization have taken place. You may kindly recall in 1991 when Dr. Manmohan Singh pronounced this liberalization policy, a so-called Bombay Club, you may remember. He said, what is this? Our industry will be wiped out, and if we allow this liberalization, we have no right to survive. Many of these big industries, what they constitute Bombay Club. Today, very same people say, no, liberalize further. Introduce more liberal fiscal reforms. I think many more fiscal reforms have been, if you have still issues, you can write to me, I will address them.
No, my question is about power, for example.
Pardon?
Power companies.
Power, we have already liberalized. The rate of the incubation of the private sector is very, very lower than the public sector. I am just telling you. Suppose the public sector were to be true, what would have happened? Now we are on the way to become self-sufficient in power. We are allowed both private sector and the public sector work together. There is no discrimination between the public sector and the private sector. There are no such prohibited area insofar as the private sector is concerned.
And also there's a fair amount of investment from the government in the infrastructure as well, both in the road sector as well as energy.
Railways, energy, because the infrastructure, there cannot be any compromise. This is what I said about, you started a preamble. About 250 years back, it is US which enjoys the demographic dividend. That means the youngest country, 250 years, America. They utilized that window of opportunity to build, the infrastructure, physical as also manpower. Today the turn has come, rightly you said, another 25 to 30 years, the youngest country in the world. And 30, 35 years, whether it is the government, the private sector, we have pumped in a lot of investment in infrastructure, education. Then you see a picture where the country, our India, can be among, figure among the top slot. This is the potential we have. All of us should put our efforts together. Not in a destructive way, but in a very positive way. If you build it, India will have the primacy of place in the world economy. This is the capacity of India. That kind of a demographic dividend will have to reap. That kind of a window of opportunity can never be lost sight, particularly when we are progressing in a big way. That's the potential of India. That's the strength of India.
Next question.
Hello sir, I'm Veerappa Moily. I'm a student at UFR. I thank you and Professor Rao for giving us this open forum. You mentioned in your speech before about giving an equal platform to students of merit. And I have been personally a benefactor of that. I studied in Manipal University in Karnataka. My question is more on that line. We are witnessing a paradigm shift where more and more graduates are staying back in India for work. and also many NRIs are willing to go back to India. In this paradigm, how do you justify reservations in premium colleges even at the master's level based on caste and not on economic stability or status?
Yeah, you may just recollect that in our place, when we were all small kids, we used to reside in Bangalore. We reside, in a valley of Western Ghats, Sahyadri Hills. Then, sometime, in the night, we find a lot of fire in the Western Ghats, the trees. Then I asked my father, what is this? It is burning, all the trees will be burned. He said, son, this is the matter, how the forest growth is conditioned. Wild growth will not allow a good, healthy forest to grow. It has to be conditioned. That's how there's a conditional controlled fire. Like that, in a society, very well, the reservation has played a game. Even here, equal opportunity. I saw yesterday, a day before yesterday in Washington, when I visited the Department of Justice, I found a board, Equal Opportunity Office. I'm just telling you, Equal Opportunity Office. Then, I was told that every office has Equal Opportunity Office. But of course, only naming, instead of Equal Opportunity, we call it a reservation. Maybe that we can change that word. There's no issue. There's no issue on that. But I know opportunity will have to be given. I can give you a small example. Sorry for taking a little more time, because I don't think any misconception will be there on reservation. In the oversight committee, I ordered for surveys where the reservation policy was already in force. State of Karnataka, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, and Andhra. Then in each of the year we found, these the category belonging to the reservation. Yes, admission there is 2%, 3%, 4% mark difference. But say enter, they get into the competitive spirit. I found more percentage of passes from the reserved category than the more percentage of ranking for first class in the reserved category than the general. More percent of ranks, I can send you the email to you, the entire detail of it. What does it mean? What does it mean? It means that opportunity is available. If the opportunity is given, those general category, they think that they are already intelligent. So that means that competitive spirit is strong. But the reserved category, they come there, they know they need to compete. Though work hard. And ultimately, the chances, luck is only 5%. 95% is hard work. This is what we are changing the scenario of India. And and communities, groups of people who have been isolated, could not get that opportunity. What it is. My children, they do not want a reservation. But getting into the institution, yes, certain level, equal opportunity, how it be given? Which instrument will have? That should be all right. If you want a change of instrument for enforcing the equal opportunity, yes, we should need to give. You may remember, I remember a story when I think John F. Kennedy was the president. There was a black girl was, I think, Florida or somewhere, was put out of the bus, school bus. Then he sent the federal army to put that girl back to the bus. I'm telling you, this kind of a spirit of opportunity, competitiveness, need to be done. If you really want a competitiveness, you have to apply in every angle. Whether you are in another angle or this angle, ultimately, competitive spirit will flourish for a prosperity, provided that kind of a window of opportunity is not denied to anyone. This is what. That is why my principal slogan again I am repeating, expansion, inclusion, excellence. This side.
Well, changing it to call it equal employment opportunity or equal opportunity for education, I mean, that might be a good thing to do. Yeah, right.
I don't mind. Just writing it to my mind after after seeing that board of equal opportunity office, I thought, oh, I'll get back, remove that social welfare, put that equal opportunity. That is more marketing. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, sir. I am the other Professor Rao, Mahadev Rao from State University of New York at Rockport. So let me change the subject a little bit here. My question is regarding dual citizenship. From time to time we hear that India is going to allow dual citizenship and then the news disappears. So could you tell us something about where that particular situation is now?
Of course, it is being publicly debated. But as a law minister, I did one thing, that is providing the voting right to the NRIs. You may remember. Now you can reside here, but if you are a citizen, Indian passport holder, you have right to it. I think that act I passed it as a law minister. It was pending. I think that may be the first step. Next step may be this, but I don't think it has crystallized till today.
First of all, welcome to Rochester, and as the old saying is, Moses comes to mountain, so you are here and we welcome you in town. My question is simple, that these days the world is beginning to become narrow, travel is getting more and more, but unfortunately, because of whatever political relationship between the India and Pakistan are there, we are having a tough time in getting the visa for India. Even though we are here and we are US citizens, we have nothing to do with the place of our birth or anything. There's a lot of screening process, a lot of searching the passports, visas, and looking at the background of the potential traveler. I think the reason they said after that Chicago event, that India has become very restrictive to travel to India if the person is Pakistani passport, Pakistani birth, not even a passport holder. Is there a big real logic about it? Is what can be done about it? This is not a comment, this is a plea. That those of us who are US citizens, whether though our place of birth may have been once upon a time in Pakistan or Bangladesh or wherever, why is India government being so restrictive to not allow us the visa to enter India?
I do appreciate your concern. In fact, one of the delegation met me in Washington maybe yesterday morning. They mentioned about some of this, even though it is not under my domain of my ministry. It strictly comes under the Ministry of External Affairs. But this is an issue which I have noted down, and I will see what could be done, and I may not be in a position to readily give an answer.
Well, indirectly also, this is affecting even Indian citizens, that they cannot go back to India.
That includes that. That includes that. We will address that problem. Maybe that I will have a discussion with the External Affairs after one way back.
Let me just carry this forward. The fact that between India and USA, the business is growing, travel, their mutual relations are growing, but travel between India and USA is being restrictive, as I said earlier.
Particularly on tourism.
Yes.
That's the segment where it is affected. It has been brought to my notice yesterday. We had a good discussion yesterday. Maybe that, way back, I will reflect this issue with the Ministry of External Affairs.
Okay, thank you very much.
Good afternoon, Dr. Moily, Dr. Rao. Thank you for spending your afternoon with us. And I share your enthusiasm about India. My name is Manjeet Dhariwal. I run a few different software companies here in the US as well as in India, and I've been doing business in India for about 10 years now. One of the things that specifically has been a little bit of a thorn for us for the last 3 or 4 years is that when we look into acquiring companies where we're looking for them to demerge so that we can take over a portion of that process is extremely lengthy. And we're looking at that process being more than 12 months, during which sometimes the window of opportunity is closed or compromised in a significant manner. Is this something that is being addressed, or at least, I'd like to bring it to your concern?
Yeah, it is a partial merger and a total merger. Some of these issues have been now addressed by particularly the competition policy and also with regard to the new company bill. I think you find an answer shortly.
Thank you.
How are you doing? My name is Vivek Tyagarajan, and I'm an attorney here, and I was born in the U.S., and the reason I say that is because one of the things that I really liked what you were talking about is the explosion of the labor market in India, as you were talking about how there's going to be over 1 billion working citizens. And one of the things that I have a question about is foreign investment from individuals. I know that currently if you are a foreign-born individual, you can't really invest into particular companies in India. And how do you think that, will that change? And because for me, I feel like it's very similar to the expansion, inclusion, and excellence that you're allowing the capital markets to also expand, to have more people to invest into the country.
It's a welcome change, the FDI is one of our priority area. In fact, any particular, obstruction or particular, bottleneck on this, we can always address, and if we have, I think we can, maybe an individual question. General policy is concerned, we have, FDI has been liberalized in a very large extent, and it's also being liberalized in a better way. Now, I think a lot of changes are happening, and the government is open to many of the changes, and the changes are being made.
I think it's also sort of talking about NRIs when they want to invest in India, that there are some restrictions on what they can do. And is that being liberalized?
No, that is also being liberalized. I know that. I'm aware of it. Yes.
Namaskar, Dr. Moily. My name is Deepak Seth. First of all, I would have to admit that when I heard about you coming here and giving this talk, all the latest news from India makes me somewhat of a cynic and a skeptic. And I thought, okay, what am I going to hear here? But I would like to thank you for reassuring us, and by your expertise and the way you have dealt with the questions and laid out what you have been doing. At least I will be leaving here with a reassurance that India is in good hands, and you've got a vision for what you intend to do. My question is about a lot of issues which are plaguing UPA2, your current administration, have been blamed on what is called the coalition dharma. So there is one thing called coalition dharma and the other thing called Rashtra dharma. So when there is a conflict between coalition dharma and Rashtra dharma, who makes the call about which dharma stays on top, and till what extent will you allow coalition dharma to get on top of Rashtra dharma?
I think I will expand this concept a little further. The Constitution itself is a document of resolution of conflicts. Because we have conflicting interests. And the coalition, yes, whether there are coalition partners in terms of political parties or not, our country can be run by conciliation and coalition of ideologies. There is, our constitution has been, framers have been more idealistic than, people who are committed to any ideology. It's rather idealistic than ideological. This is how our constitution has been built. So that means to say that, it's a country, this big size of 1.25 billion. And the country of that size, you cannot expect uniformity. There are many, many voices. They are not to be contained in running a democracy. And there are regional parties are formed, national parties are formed. And while doing so, naturally, the people will have their own choice. And ultimately, the one political party may not get that kind of a majority to form a government. It's all, necessary hazards in a democratic process, even though we wish that there is one. But at the same time, I don't say that, while working on a coalition arrangement with other political parties, we are compromising on Rashtra Dharma. Rashtra Dharma, how do we define? That is the question. Rashtra Dharma is a duty to the nation. Duty to the nation, cannot be compromised because, any ministers who become ministers, they have to take a oath on the national Rashtra Dharma, isn't it? That's it. He is bound by that. Any person who violates that, he can be questioned. So there is no question of compromising any Rashtra Dharma, and you'll have to, oath will have to be taken on, not because of, on the constitution. There is no constitution at the state level. There is a constitution, only one constitution at the national level. So that means your oath is taken on Rashtra Dharma, not on any other dharma.
I think we have time for one last question, right?
Yeah, one or two in that part.
Okay, thank you. First of all, Dr. Moily and Dr. Rao. We're new to this place. My name is Raji Ramanan, and it's great to meet the Indian community here, and especially in the auspicious of this meeting. And I work for a Spanish company with under town management, and this is a question very, very pertinent to what I'm doing. And I'd like your comments and the thoughts around this. There are a lot of NRIs here who actually now are thinking to go back to India because of all the reasons you talked about this entire afternoon. It's very attractive, professional growth, and also the kind of opportunities and exposure people have. Is there something that India has thought about in terms of attracting these NRIs back so that we can do reverse brain drain? Sorry to put you in this part.
No, we take that.
Could you repeat the question a little bit?
They are told about the NRIs investment. Many people would like to come back to India.
Right.
NRIs invest on that.
That's right.
To that extent, I understood. What is it?
Is there anything special that's being thought of because there are huge numbers? Has anybody taken a look at how many people really want to go back and what's going to trigger to attract more people?
I understood. I understood that there are many things, which have been liberalized as far as the NRI investment is concerned. There have been old saying like, brain drain. I think the reverse drain has started.
Right.
That process is there. I do agree with you. We need to, that kind of a reverse drain will have to be fastened. To that extent, what could be done and what are the remedies, solution. Back home, I will address that from my ministry.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, last question. You get a second shot.
Thank you very much for the second chance. My name is Chakravarti. I am from Karnataka, so I get a second chance. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Appreciate it. My question is on the equal opportunity which we talked about. I have a question on IITs. IITs were by Jawaharlal Nehru, they started as an institution of excellence in higher learning. And because of that, the cream of the engineering comes from that IIT. Over 10 lakh students take the entrance exam, and very few of them are selected, and they are cream of India. Now, we are trying to introduce the reservation policy there. Yes, it is introduced. I have nothing against people who use reservation. Now, what happens is the quality of the education and the quality of the standards is getting diluted because in IITs, if I know the rules correctly, if a student fails in 2 subjects, he is given 1 chance. And if he fails again, he is asked to leave IIT. He can never come back to IIT.
In the reservation policy, that person is allowed to take attempts, make more attempts, and if he doesn't pass, he is given extra resources, extra coaching to make sure that he passes. So as he passes further and passes out of the college or the institution, don't you think the quality of a few students would have diluted, and it may not be the intended goal? I must tell you that, I gave an example how we conducted a survey, and they are no more inferior than the rest. You know the scenario earlier to the introduction of reservation. How many IITs came within 500 big institutions? No. Now I think 1 or 2 have joined. I think more than 2 have joined that excellence, league of excellence. That means dilution, I think maybe in the perception, but ultimate analysis it is not so. I must tell you a small example. I am running a school called Mahatma Gandhi Residential High School. I run 3 classes, 8th, 9th and 10th. That is in Karnataka and also in my constituency, Chikpada. My criteria for admission is the man who gets the least mark, that is 35, he will get the first preference. My wife is there, many of them are there. They are all witness to it because I can lie with anybody, not with my wife. We admit them. That too come from the parentage, like those who are drunk parents or those who have no parents. We admit them. We don't mix up money people. Everything is free. 8th, 9th, 10th. Do you know? Out of 18 SSLC examination, all the 18 examination, all of them pass. And 90% first class, 10% only second class, no third class. The 35% man gets out at 85, 90%. How can it happen? Some support system should be there. Some more logistic support will have to be there. After all, a fellow citizen joining that, this is what, country cannot live on, on an island of excellence. It has to live on an ocean of excellence. This is the theory with which we need to adapt and go. Yes, these IIT, a lot of things are wanting. There should be more research in IITs. It was not there even prior to that. It is done. Some students are there. Some people say IITs are great because of the students, not because of the institution or faculty. There are people who say, I don't agree with that. I don't subscribe.
Actually, I would agree with that.
There is an argument. That is, after all, it is an argumentative India. It's an argumentative India. So in an argumentative India, anything is possible. But I must tell you that, institution, what is the point? In 10 lakh people apply, only how many people get admission? There is no point, it's meaningless. A country of our size, what is the percentage of the people apply and what is the percentage taken? That kind of a narrow percentage is not available anywhere, including US. Isn't it? Then how can it can be in our India? It's a most retrograde system where so many people are denied. Ultimately, they join the better school here in states. I think we have to create a more responsive, platform for developing excellence, innovation. I think we need to do that, and yes, certain support in the initial stage is necessary. And at some stage we will have to give it. And if that man can be a good contribution to the country, entrepreneurship, country's academic excellence, let us do that. That's why, yes, this is a perception, but may not be actually correct. I think we need to make another review, analysis after introduction of reservation and find out the truth, what happens. The truth is sometimes different from a perception. I appreciate this argument, but at the same time, we need to live on the ocean of excellence. That country, I read out Macaulay. That's the kind of excellence where. Excellence is a habit, not an act. Once you live in a habit of excellence in the country will be excellent. This is how it's better.
think that's very well said. You know, the IITs provide a good education. They also have good students, but you know, even students who are on the edge, going to an IIT would help them a lot. And overall, like you said, it'll grow to being an ocean of excellence here.
Remember, you know, the law education. You know, when I thought of conceiving, I think
when I thought of conceiving a National Law School University in Bangalore, first time we started, everybody laughed at me. You know, in my assembly, I was chief minister or finance minister or whatever. People said, you know, why do you give 50 acres of land to one law school? You could have given only few rooms to them. Why do you give 50 acres of land? Why do you give 3 or 4 crores to them? You could have distributed among so many law colleges. I said, no. This is the law university of the future. Today, there, you know what it is. Every student who comes out from the National Law School University, they get more salary than an IIT student. There are 14 law school universities in India. Now people are demanding more such law school universities. Not exactly students. It is the institution which brings up the students. I'm telling you this is one thing, because let me contrast to this, what you said. So this is why, excellence can be created. Excellence, you have to provide that kind of an institution. Let us build thousands of such institutions in the country. There will be, ocean of excellence. This is what I am telling you. I have faith in it, because I have myself experimented. I am telling you not by somebody's reading, but I am telling you I experimented and I succeeded.
Well, that's really good to hear. No, but I actually believe what you said, that having more institutions of excellence will actually help build more excellence. And anyway, thank you all for coming. I also want to thank Dr. Moily. And I hope that they continue to stay here so we keep getting you back here. Everyone recognizes your value and the way you're bringing more reform and change to the country. And one of the things I'm going to be talking about next week is entrepreneurial leadership, which means people who have reform agendas and making it happen. And I thank you for giving me a good example here. Thank you.
It is my pleasure to do a formal vote of thanks to Dr. Moily and Dr. Rao. Please put your hands together for them. If you don't mind, if I can take just 1 minute. I won't take 1 minute, sir. I want to take 1 minute and acknowledge a few facts, which if I don't acknowledge, they don't get into our common narrative. The chief guest arrived 10 to 15 minutes before time, and I suspect half of our guests thought that that was not likely to happen. So you could run in at about 12:30. I do want to acknowledge him and for Nikhil and Rashmi to keeping us on time. Thank you very much. Please put your hands together. Because this is part of the mindset change. Expansion, inclusiveness and excellence is about acknowledging the times when you see excellence. And that starts at the moment when we come on time. We have such a great session. Dr. Rao was prepared. He had spent time yesterday looking up your bio, sir. Right? He had his own questions. The audience was very prepared. You asked great questions. I'm so grateful for that. I'll take 1 more minute because as the chairman of ICC, I do need to pitch. I'm very grateful for all the people who are here for the first time. They've not seen the ICC before. They don't know what we do. So take a look around. But this place is busy 40 to 45 weekends out of 52. We get about 10,000 visitors across the year. There's some people who are repeat, there's some people who come the first time, like some of you, but that's the amount of activity. Some of it's cultural, some of it's social, some of it's for fundraising and for charitable purposes. And I'm so grateful that our board's now starting to organize what we are hopeful is going to be professional forums. So thank you for being here for the first one. Yes.
I have not thanked the community center for providing this kind of a platform to me to share some of my ideas and thoughts.
And in the same spirit, sir, to your point, all the best engineers and doctors are here. Ask us what we can do for them.
Yeah, correct. I'm very happy because most enlightened people who have put the action, this is how I can see the positive India with you. It's the great book that that's what I am expecting. And maybe that someday when I come here, I can give a lecture on Sri Ramayana Manveshwar. And I can give another lecture on Draupadi. I am writing another epic poem, the most powerful woman of the world, I must tell you. So anyway, we'll reserve that time when I come back. And all that, I'm a person, I'm a dreamer. Of course, with the inspiration of my wife, I write my epic poem. And that is what, I think 100 ideas, conceive 100 ideas. Sometimes, in our practical work in the administration as a minister, I can implement 25%. But I do not get frustrated. I lose my energy because another 75% of ideas are still alive in my poetry, in my novel and epic poem. This is how, this energizes me and makes me to live with energy.
We look forward to your feedback. If you can fill those forms or let us know even later by email, that will be very useful. Thank you all for coming. Thank you.
Very nice. How is it?
Are you still taping?
Yeah, it's done.
There's some help to put the chairs away. Like. Helps you when the